The British Columbia Institute of Technology acknowledges that our campuses are located on the unceded traditional territories of the Coast Salish nations of Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh.
From the Broadcast Center at BCIT's Burnaby Campus, this is All Talk Radio. You're listening to 1680 The Crow.
Good afternoon, I'm Sia Forio, and here's your news update to 1. 4,700 residents of Fort Nelson have been put on an evacuation order as of this morning. This according to Minister of Emergency Management, Bowen Ma, who also states that the drought and no rain in the foreseeable forecast is not helping the conditions. Mayor Rob Fraser states there could be winds blowing the fire closer to the town. The Parker Lake wildfires is on the move and about 1.5 kilometers away from the west side of Fort Nelson. British Columbia continues to see forest fires spreading rapidly, forcing many residents to evacuate their homes. Reporter Nicholas Halka spoke to a member of Linton on his experience of being forced to evacuate his own home in 2021 due to wildfires.
The forest fire at Parker Lake has spread and forced residents of Fort Nelson to evacuate, according to Emergency Info BC. Byron Spinks, councillor and former chief of the Lytton First Nation, knows how the residents of Fort Nelson feel all too well. In 2021, a forest fire swept through Lytton, burning down most of the town. Lytton residents had all of 25 minutes to gather their belongings and evacuate, according to Spinks. During these trying times, Spinks says it's crucial for the community to communicate and support one another. With winds set to pick up today, firefighters remain hard at work battling the blaze. Nicholas Hauka, BCIT's The Crow.
Western Canada's largest documentary film festival wrapped up its 2024 lineup yesterday. Reporter Zach Arabko speaks on how the Doksa Film Festival provides opportunity to documentary filmmakers.
Vancouver's film buffs watched dozens of movies over the past 11 days. Local and international films were featured at the Doksa Film Festival. Directors like Cindy Mochizuki used the festival as a platform to debut their films worldwide. Other directors, such as Toronto filmmakers Michael Mabbutt and Luca Rosenberg-Lee, used Doksa to show their films to different provincial audiences. Doksa awarded $5,000 and the Colin Lowe Award for Best Canadian Director to Pablo Alvarez Mesa for his film The Soldier's Lagoon. Other winners include Neil Diamond and Catherine Bainbridge's Red Fever, which earned the Nigel Moore Award for Youth Programming, and How Zoes Wouldn't Make It Any Other Way for Short Documentary. Zach Arabko for BCIT's The Crow.
Ottawa is looking at redefining the role of the CBC and the CBC radio mandate ahead of the federal election. Mickey Jorich of the Associated Press has the details.
7 multimedia experts have been selected, and their job is to advise Heritage Minister Pascale St-Onge as she renews the role of the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. Canadian Heritage says the group is going to provide policy advice, mainly around governance and funding for CBC and Radio Canada. The department says consultations to renew CBC's mandate has already been done with Canadians and stakeholders, but now the newly appointed advisory committee will help the minister establish a path forward. St-Onge says the group will help her fulfill her mandate to modernize the public broadcaster. The federal government wants to redefine the role of CBC before the next federal election as the Liberals hedge against a possible change in government. Mickey Judich, The Canadian Press, Ottawa.
Former President Donald Trump is back in court today for his federal case, marking the fourth week of the witness testimony in Trump's hush money trial. Julie Walker of the Associated Press has the details.
Michael Cohen was once Donald Trump's lawyer and fixer. The jury in his hush money trial was shown payments Cohen gave to Stormy Daniels in 2016 for $130,000. Money prosecutors say was to stay quiet about a sex encounter which Daniels told the jury about last week, something Trump denies. Prosecutors say the crime was Trump paying that money back to Cohen. Entering court, Trump blasting the case.
Now in weather, it is a high of 18 degrees in Vancouver and a low of 19 degrees, with a mix of sun and cloud throughout the day and a light wind. A perfect time for you to head on out and enjoy the town for a walk, picnic, or playtime with friends and family. That's been your news update to 1 p.m. See you for you, BCIT's The Crow.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
This is sports on 1680 The Crow.
Hello, I'm Matthias Jones with your sports updates to 1:10 p.m. Vancouver Canucks defenseman Carson Soucy has a hearing today regarding a cross-check to the head on Edmonton Oilers captain Connor McDavid. Following the final whistle of the game, a scuffle ensued between Soucy, McDavid, and fellow Canuck Nikita Zadorov. Zadorov has already been fined $5,000 for a cross-check from behind on McDavid in the scuffle, and Soucy's phone hearing will take place this afternoon. Here's what McDavid had to say about the altercation after his team's morning skate today.
It's just part of a heated series.
The Canadian Olympic and Paralympic swimming trials have begun today in Toronto. 17-year-old world record holder Summer McIntosh will begin the first of her 7 trial events today. Fans highly anticipate her 400-meter freestyle trial, as that is the world record that she set last year in Toronto. The BC Lions training camp started yesterday at Hillside Stadium in Kamloops. The team has added incentive this season as Vancouver has been named the host for the Grey Cup. The Lions have had back-to-back 12-6 seasons, with both seasons ending at the hands of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in the playoffs. The Lions will open their season on June 9th in Toronto against the Argonauts. In soccer, on Saturday, Toronto FC lost 3-2 at home against New York City FC. The game saw 7 yellow cards shown, including a red card for Toronto. The game ended with an altercation between the two teams that Toronto players say stemmed from an incident in March in New York. They allege that New York's coach punched a TFC player in the tunnel during halftime. Here is TFC coach John Herdman's comments about the game and altercations.
You know, the honest information that was relayed back from the team and from the young player was that there'd been that altercation. And, you know, that's, you know, as a coach, I've got to believe my players and support and back my players.
In European soccer, the Premier League season approaches its end and the title is still up for grabs, as well as multiple spots in next year's UEFA Champions League. Today, Liverpool is on the road facing Aston Villa as Villa hopes to secure their spot in the Champions League. Liverpool currently leads 2-1 after a Villa own goal and a goal from Cody Gakpo. Tomorrow, reigning champions Manchester City head to London to face Tottenham Hotspur with the hope of clinching the title once again. That game will kick off at 12 p.m. Canadian Sarah Mitten has once again broke her own Canadian women's shot put record. Mitten bested her old national record of 20.33 meters with a throw measuring 20.68 meters on Saturday. Mitten won the silver medal at the World Athletics Championships in 2023. The NHL playoffs return to action starting in New York tonight. The New York Rangers face off against the Carolina Hurricanes at 4 p.m. as the Rangers currently hold a 3-1 series lead. Following that game, the Dallas Stars and Colorado Avalanche will face off in Game 4 of their series as Dallas currently holds a 2-1 lead in the series. The puck will drop in Colorado at 6:30 p.m. In the NBA playoffs, 4 teams return to action tonight. The Cleveland Cavaliers will host the Boston Celtics for Game 4 of their series as the 1-seeded Celtics currently lead the series 2-1. Following that game, the Dallas Mavericks will host Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Mavericks currently hold a 2-1 series lead. The Cavaliers and Celtics will tip off at 4 p.m., and the Thunder and Mavericks will tip off at 6:30. Also in basketball, Bronny James, son of LeBron James, has been medically cleared to play in the NBA and is expected to participate in the draft combine this week. James underwent a cardiac event last summer before beginning his college career at USC, so teams were awaiting his medical assessment. James declared for the draft roughly a month ago, with many analysts questioning the decision. NBA supporters will watch closely for what happens with James at the draft, as his future will most likely determine his dad's future in the league as well. Those are your sports headlines to 1:10 p.m. I'm Matthias Jones, and you're listening to BCIT's The Crow.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow. This is 1680 The Crow, and you're listening to our feature presentation.
Statistics Canada reports that Metro Vancouver residents have worse mental health than the rest of British Columbia. This is a problem that has effects on the youth, the workers who help them, and even the police. Our reporter, Spencer Pomeroy, learned how the police and youth workers help these people.
Ian MacDonald has over 25 years of policing experience. He has served the last 3 years as the media liaison for the Surrey Police.
At every interaction, you have to be considering, how is the public being placed at risk? How can I ensure that I go home at the end of the night, that the subject that I might be engaged with is going to be safe throughout the interaction, and all the people who may be gathered around, including witnesses, potential victims, and bystanders, will not be negatively impacted.
Ian says calls that involve mental health issues range between 10 and 20%. This statistic was not recorded until recently, and police officers dealt with the situation differently.
Oftentimes, police would go to a disturbance or some kind of disruption. They would restore peace and order and temporarily restore calm.
With changes being made to how police officers deal with these situations, Ian recognizes that this is a more common problem than most people realize.
Yeah, I think that, in some ways you may see it, and I think generally people see it as progress, that there is a recognition that throughout the journey of any person's life, you may have some mental health challenges, and that's been normalized.
Working directly with these people allows Ian to fully understand the problems they encounter.
I was fortunate in that kind of towards the end of my active policing career, I was involved in 2 outreach programs. One that was focused on people who were more street entrenched, people that would find themselves at least temporarily homeless, people that had substance use challenges. And so many of those people, including sort of the team that I put together to interact with these people as people that had shared experiences. Many of those individuals I still have contact with, and it's a real positive and kind of invigorating experience.
To better understand how youth are being helped, Mary Maleshal, a youth worker at Covenant House, Vancouver, is guiding youth to reach their true potential.
A lot of youths think that they're on their own or they're alone through this journey, but I want them to know that they're actually not alone. There's a lot of supports out there that are willing to listen to their story, that are willing to assist them where they're at and not changing them to fit a certain mold. But there are a lot of organizations out there, like where I work, where they can actually be heard, their stories can be heard, where they won't feel a sense of stigmatization or judgment. So it's important to just kind of take it step by step and seek assistance when it's needed, and not feel like they're in their own world, but realize that there are people that are willing to be there for them and that are actually genuinely wanting to help them. And yeah, just seeking the assistance is really important, and accepting that, yes, I do need help. And yeah, that there are people out there who are willing to help them in their journey into getting better and becoming better versions of themselves.
Yeah. Is there anything you want to add in general about anything?
I think I'm good.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah. I think I'm good.
Mary explains how some youth's problems stem from a young age. She says there are multiple factors that can lead to someone's search for help.
Yeah, it's usually, for the most part, a lot of the youth have experienced difficult childhoods, and whether it may be difficult family backgrounds, history of abuse, or history of neglect, a lot of them have that commonality, and just not having a strong support system growing up is a commonality, or just having to be on their own, having to figure out everything on their own, even when they're so young. And yeah, just not having that specific role model, or just having a poor role model to look up to, Yeah, that's some of the just family background is a huge factor into how some of these youth end up going into substance use.
Mary emphasizes the need to separate her work life from her family life in order to be at her best when the youth are in need. Having family and friends to lean on helps Mary recharge and stay fresh.
For myself, I make sure that I have at least a couple of days to. I'm actually a part of different organizations as well, other than work. I volunteer, and I make sure that when I volunteer, I set apart my work life from that. And at home, I have dogs. So I spend a lot of time with my dogs, with my family. I make sure that when I'm at home, work stays separate from home. And I just have strong attachments to my family, strong attachments to my community. I think that's what's very important, having a strong attachment to a community outside of your work environment.
For BCIT's The Crow, with my co-producer Keenan Tregaskis, I'm Spencer Pomeroy.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretanero.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.